Elaine Quijano, thank you for joining us. Democrats are applauding the release of their long-awaited memo, which rebuts claims put forth by Republicans last month. The Republican memo claimed that the DOJ and the FBI obtained surveillance warrants for former Trump campaign advisor Carter Page by using unverified information from the so-called dossier compiled by former British intelligence officer Christopher Steele. Republicans argue Steele's work was partly funded by the Clinton campaign. Democrats say the requests for FISA warrants were based on much more than the Steele dossier and included compelling evidence and probable cause to believe Page was knowingly assisting clandestine Russian intelligence activities. President Trump downplayed the substance of the memo. On Saturday, he called it fraudulent during a phone interview with Fox News.
A lot of bad things happened on the other side, not on this side, but on the other side.
And you know what's
somebody
interesting?
should look into it because what they did is really fraudulent, and somebody should be looking into that. And by somebody, I'm talking about you-know-who.
CBS News Justice reporter Paula Reid is in Washington. So, Paula, if the memo argues that the Steele dossier was not the only basis for seeking the warrant, then what other factors were considered?
Well, as you just noted, the Republicans argue that the Steele dossier was the crux, was the essence of the evidence that they actually had to pursue this FISA warrant. But here in the Democratic memo, they argue that, in fact, investigators had multi-pronged rationale for pursuing this. Specifically, they had details of Page's past relationships with Russian spies and also new information about his interactions with Russians during the campaign. They also argue in this new memo that they had multiple sources and that their use of the Steele dossier was quite narrow.
Well, Republicans argued the FISA court was not made aware of the political origins of the Steele dossier. The president even tweeted, quote, FBI did not disclose who the clients were, the Clinton campaign and the DNC. Wow. Does the Democratic memo address that claim?
Well, let's listen to what Adam Schiff had to say about this first.
It's ironic that the Republicans would attack the FBI for following their procedures, which require that they minimize the names of U.S. persons and U.S. entities that are not the subject of a warrant. So even Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are referred to as Candidate 1 and Candidate 2. They're supposed to mask the identities of people.
So there you can see, I mean, their argument is that, no, they were not specific with names or specific organizations, but the Democrats argue that the FBI did put the court on notice that some of this information came from politically motivated actors.
Well, how has the White House responded to the memo?
You played a little bit of that Trump interview at the top of this segment, but during this interview with Fox News last night, he described this as, quote, the president described this as, quote, a nothing. He referred to Schiff as a bad guy. But what was so interesting to me in this interview, Elaine, was towards the end. He specifically talked about Congressman Devin Nunes, who's obviously the one who authored and really pushed for the Republican version of this memo. And he said, if this continues to go forward, I think he is going to be greatly honored for his service for what he's done. I think that's incredibly telling because a lot of people have argued, why would Devin Nunes push over FBI and Justice Department objections for this memo to be released? Why would he wade into these partisan waters? Is it a search for truth, or is it to curry favor with the White House? In light of those questions, I think the president's answer there is dispositive.
Well, does the release of this memo impact the special counsel's investigation going forward?
Not at this point. It could be used down the road as a reason or as perhaps a pretext to try to undermine that investigation. But at this point, Elaine, while this committee engages in a he said over the Carter Page surveillance, Special Counsel Robert Mueller is moving ahead full steam. Just over the past few days, he's nabbed 2 guilty pleas and he has filed dozens of new charges. So while some people have argued that this is all an exercise to undermine the origins of the special counsel probe, Robert Mueller moving along.
All right, Paula Reid in Washington. Paula.